Devontae, what's up, man? Hey, do you hear an echo? I think I might have taken care of it. Let's play something. Good, man. How you doing this morning? Or, I guess, what time is it for you? Let me get my bearings. I know yesterday you mentioned Albania. I don't know if you were actually from there, near there. Okay. Wow. Good afternoon. Yeah, I figured. Being in the States, we're behind the times, so to speak. Everybody else is a little bit ahead of us. Mm. I gotta be honest. What happened with my chat? Why did that go away? There it is. So, here's what I want to do. Man, why is my chat? Why does it do that? Man, I've got a lot to learn when it comes to streaming this. There we go. Hmm. Lock this thing in place somehow. Every time I switch pages, that damn thing goes away. I have to come over here and hit that. The hell? Hmm. Dante, you still in here? Okay, cool. So, so I need a little bit of education here. Yeehaw! One of these days I'll give you a true yeehaw. I've just gotta work up the courage, but I am from Texas. I can do it. I need to get educated. I saw you mention yesterday, dude, that annoys the hell out of me that my chat disappears every time I click on something. I saw you mention yesterday that you. Oh, that's annoying the shit out of me. That you're Muslim. And I hate to admit, I don't even know what you'd call it. It's wild. 1.9 billion. See how much they provide. Wow, okay. Why are you sweating, man? I just need to educate myself on it. I don't judge, brother. Genuinely. I love the oneness of God. It aligns. I too believe in that. A line of prophets. I like to think of them as ascended masters. I'm not keen on the literal word of God, but I'm sure it's fine. It was a well-timed comedic break. I start sweating too when I start getting into the conversations. Mostly though, just because I don't want to offend people, and I know that a lot of these topics that we talk about can be controversial, so to speak. Okay, it's a similar belief: heaven or hell, paradise or hell. Seems not one I, you know, um, believe in myself. I believe in heaven, but I believe all realms are a reflection of heaven in some way or shape. And hell can exist, it just doesn't exist in my reality. Interesting. So, how are things going with where you're at? There's a lot of crazy stuff happening here in the USA. In particular, yesterday, I feel like society lost their minds a little bit. But how are things in your part of Europe? That's good. There's just so much going on here. There was a political activist assassinated, and I don't get involved in politics myself, but it's just so unfortunate. No, we're good. That's pretty cool.
The hunt for additional surveillance footage from the campus and surrounding area were among the highest priorities overnight. The FBI and police were also searching for the murder weapon and a single shell casing and any other evidence the killer may have left behind. Police say early evidence points to the shooter firing from an elevated position. Sources telling me overnight the distance of the shots points to a skilled shooter with considerable experience with firearms. In addition, law enforcement faced with the daunting task of interviewing hundreds of witnesses who were in attendance in the hopes that any of them saw the shooter or might have left cell phone video capturing something useful. Early on, there was confusion in the chaotic moments after the attack. An elderly man was caught on tape being detained by police, the university stating that a suspect was in custody, but a few hours later, police stating that he was not the shooter. Then the FBI director announcing that a different subject was in custody in connection with the shooting. But less than 3 hours later, authorities released yet another statement saying that both men believed to be persons of interest had been interviewed and released, saying there are no ties, they have no current ties to the shooting. So the bottom line, the hunt is on, and the FBI is desperate for the public's help, setting up a digital tip line, FBI Gov/Utah Valley shooting, George.
And Pierre, this is the latest in a sickening string of attacks.
Bro, this chat thing is like so annoying. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And then some other things happened that were just, I don't know. People lost their minds yesterday. Hey, good morning, Irish. Or I suppose it's, I don't know what time it is for you actually. Breakthrough. Okay, good. Good morning.
Of an individual within this country. Just to recap yesterday's events, at around 12:20 p.m., Political influencer Charlie Kirk was at Utah Valley University participating in a student-sponsored event with Turning Point USA. Charlie was shot at that event. He was transported to a local hospital where he later passed. Last night, his body was moved to the state office of the medical examiner. We will continue to facilitate movements to get him home today and with his family. Yesterday, during the investigative process, we located a couple of
Get some
persons
sleep,
of
Dante.
interest. We
It's all
interviewed
good, brother.
those
I
individuals,
appreciate you stopping and saying hi.
and after releasing them and after clearing them of being suspects, they face scrutiny, they face threats. We asked the public to be patient with the investigative process. These individuals were not suspects, they were people of interest. We ask that you do not impose into those people and that investigative process. They don't deserve that harassment for being subject to that. I'd like to thank all the investigators that are involved in this. They have worked around the clock, all day yesterday, through the night last night. Investigators from the State Bureau of Investigations, from county, from city agencies, the university, our federal partners with the FBI, the ATF, and many others. Those are just a few of the people that we have involved in this. I'd like to thank all of them for their strong work. Through all that work last night, we were able to make a few breakthroughs. We were able to track
Tell me if
movements
that's
of the
enough,
shooter.
if that's high enough. I
Starting at
can work on my
11:52 a.m., the
other
subject
audio
arrived on
features
campus
if it didn't
shortly away
turn
from
up enough.
campus. We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood. Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses, and have thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads. We do have good video footage of this individual. We are not going to release that at this time. We are working through some technologies and some ways to identify this individual. If we are unsuccessful, we will reach out to you as the media and we will push that publicly to help us identify them. But we are confident in our abilities right now, and we would like to move forward in a manner that keeps everyone safe and moves this process appropriately. Last night I communicated with Erica. The family's devastated.
Cool.
As a commissioner of public
That worked.
safety, as a father, as a husband, I can only imagine what that family's going through. The heinous event that happened yesterday is not Utah. This is not what we're known for. Over the past several weeks, we've seen this state come together to help families in mourning, come together as a community to show what Utah is known for.
I'm learning.
For a state of character, of service, of camaraderie, of a neighboring feel. We will not stand for what happened yesterday. We are exhausting every lead. We have every officer invested in this, every investigator, every local agency. The outpouring of support from the law enforcement community has been astounding. We are investing everything we have into this, and we will catch this individual.
Yeah, for real. This is so
Having
sad.
walked through the crime scene, through the hallways
I don't
of
get
the
involved
school,
in politics,
through the
but
classrooms,
it just breaks my heart
I
to
can't
see this kind of
imagine
stuff
what
happen.
the people on scene felt as well. A horrific event where some of them barricaded in classrooms, some of them ran in fear. Can't overstate the tragedy and the horrific event that yesterday was, and how we will work to bring to justice the actions of one individual or any other individuals that assisted in that. Our state has gone through a lot, and we will come out successful. With that, I'll turn the time over to Special Agent Bowles. Charge.
Good morning. My name is Robert Bowles, and I am the Special Agent in charge of the Salt Lake Field Office. Following yesterday's tragic shooting of Charlie Kirk, FBI agents have been working around the clock in coordination with our law enforcement partners. We are and will continue to work nonstop until we find the person that has committed this heinous crime and find out why they did it. This morning I can tell you that we have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. So the FBI laboratory will be analyzing this weapon. Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis. Now, I understand there are a lot of questions about motive. I assure you that all leads, tips are being fully investigated. As of this morning, we have received more than 130 tips. We thank the community for that. The FBI has brought every resource to bear, and we will continue to do so throughout the course of this investigation. The FBI's mission is to protect the American people. It's to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Any attack on the First Amendment is an attack on the very foundation of our democracy. That is why we will relentlessly pursue this case and the shooter until we find him. We also continue to grieve with the family and the community. It's our community. If you have any video or images from the shooting, we ask you to please submit them to our digital media tip website at www.fbi.gov/Utah Valley Shooting. You can also call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. We truly rely on the public's help in these types of cases, and no tip is too small or insignificant. Thank you.
Commissioner James Matthews from Sky News. Can I ask about the shooter? There's clearly information about him or her. You say you're confident at this stage in time that exactly who they are. Can you talk to us about their movements, their demeanor? Do you think it's a man? And also, can I ask, what are the security arrangements in place? Was that movement being monitored? It's a question many people will have.
Absolutely. So what I'll release about the suspect is suspect blended in well with a college institution. And we're not releasing many details right now, and we will soon. But right now we're not. But that individual appears to be of college age. We are confident in our abilities to track that individual. If we're unsuccessful in identifying them immediately, we will reach out for the public's help and the media's help in pushing those photos. That was a new development overnight, working through the night. We'll reach out for the public's help and the media's help. We will soon, but right now we're not. But that individual appears to be of college age. We are confident in our abilities to track that individual. If we're unsuccessful in identifying them immediately, we will reach out for the public's help and the media's help in pushing those photos. That was a new development overnight, working through the night, studying those cameras. So that's something that's new and that we're working through right now. As far as the security, I cannot speak to that. Neither the Department of Public Safety nor the Federal Bureau of Investigation was involved in the planning or security of this event, and that'll have to be a question later for other agencies.
So that's a good question, and it's a question that goes to the safety of the community, right? No, not in those woods. We've walked through those woods and secured it. As to the community, I can tell you that this was a targeted event. We don't believe that the community is at risk. However, we are exhausting every resource to find him, and we will do so.
Special Agent Bowles, Dennis Helene with the BBC. From the images you have, can you see clearly the suspect's face? You say he's college age. Do you believe he was from this university? And how far do you think he may have gone in this time span?
So I can't comment specifically on his face or any details such as that.
Then why would you even say that it was a college
Continue to be part of the
age
investigation, and again, we'll release that
individual?
shortly. However, we're doing everything we can to find him, and we're not sure how far he has gone yet, but we will
But you
do our
have a
best.
clear image of his face?
We have images of the suspect.
So
Did you trace the gun's
images and
owner?
that you've been able to recover, do you believe you know who this person is, the person that you're looking for?
Again, as part of the investigation, we're not releasing any details such as that right now.
Fingerprints or DNA?
We are exhausting all of our resources to be able to collect those, but that's, again, part of the investigation.
Have you been able to trace back the owner of the gun?
Excuse me?
You said you found the weapon. Have you been able to trace back the owner of that weapon or who purchased it?
We are working on that, but again, part of the investigation that I can't release.
Agent Bowles, has been a lot of turnover at the FBI. Do you think that's impacting the investigation?
Not at all. We've got complete and total support from everyone, from the director on down, and it's been an incredible supportive environment so far.
Our tweets went one yesterday useful though, where we announced the suspect was about to do.
All I can say is that we're working the investigation the best we have with the environment we're given. So
Those
thank
are all
you.
the questions for right now. Thank you, everybody.
It's just very sad. Yeah, it's just so sad. Man, sending love. My thoughts go out to, he had a wife and children, and the rest of his family that's affected by it. I feel really good about our afterlife, meaning I feel like Charlie's soul, spiritual being is in good hands, so to speak. But I just feel so hard for his family, his wife and his kids and the rest of his family. So, let's see. Mm-mm. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to get this chat up here. Dante, I don't know what the shooter needs. I mean, man, I don't know. Uh, I struggle with, ending the life of another person. But you may not be off. So, oh, here it is. I wanted to play this video. These guys, I didn't finish it, but I saw enough of it. They do a good job of debating this wave particle duality. I mentioned it yesterday. I think it's pretty insightful. I wanted to cover that, and then and I wanted to kind of go through that and go down this trail with you guys, and then all this heaviness hit us. But for whomever may have an interest, let's look at this, and then I just want to kind of know what your thoughts are.
Charles, welcome back to my office.
Thank you for having me.
All right. You know, I have an issue with the wave-particle duality.
I don't.
Shocker.
Coming up.
I really like Neil Tyson Degrassi, but he can trigger me. Quantum state.
So, Charles, we'll be talking about quantum physics. You just wrote a book on quantum physics.
Yes, I
The
did.
handy,
Quantum Physics Answer Book.
the word handy and quantum physics in the same title is a little disturbing.
Nah, quantum is all around us. We experience it, we use it daily, and we don't
Okay.
even know it. So, handy is really trying to convince people that, look, you don't have to be a quantum physicist to appreciate and use and enjoy the fact that we live in a universe that has quantum components.
Oh my God, this chat disappearing is like really annoying me. I wonder, so when I hear rabbit hole, my sister uses that term with me when she feels like I'm talking about things that are nonsensical. So I'm projecting that onto your statement there, Irish. Do you feel like this stuff is nonsensical? Or is it
When
just
we come of age in physics, and then you learn some things that are
rabbit
just
hole-ish, meaning
true,
it takes
Yeah.
you in different
but
places?
you're not invited to question it.
Yet. That's right.
We say, all right, here's a particle, electron, proton, neutron, even photon. I don't mind calling that a particle, even though it's
It totally
like,
is a particle.
okay.
Absolutely. It's massless.
We say the particle can also be a wave.
You know, that's a very interesting point. I want to compare notes with you about how you learned wave-particle duality. Because I went through the educational system a few years after you did. And it might have been a transition
You think
in the
something
time,
magic happened between those two times?
in the pedagogy, not in
Really?
the physics.
Okay.
In other words, when I was brought in through the system,
Yeah.
the first thing I was told was that waves and particles, everything is a wave and a particle.
That was not the first thing
That
that I
is
was taught.
really true. Yeah,
That's,
because
that's later in the book.
in high school
Mm-hmm.
physics, straight up ordinary high school physics, I was taught the de Broglie relation. It relates the momentum of a particle to its wavelength. And the relationship is mediated, shall we say, by Planck's constant.
Wait a minute, I pronounce it de Broglie. Is that not right?
My high school physics teacher, Walt Nazarenko, said right away that first class, saying, in French it's de Broglie. In America, we say de Broglie. So be ready to call it the de Broglie wavelength.
Okay. No, but I wanted to write by the man's
But
name.
Louis de Broglie, okay.
Louis de Broglie.
Yeah,
De
de
Broglie.
Broglie.
Okay.
Louis, he saw the mathematical connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
As early as 1900, when Max Planck published the Planck equation that we call it today now for thermal radiation black body spectrum.
Which many people forget or don't associate. That was the birth of quantum physics
Absolutely.
I like
in
that,
the year
Irish.
1900, but we wouldn't really develop it until the 1920s. And I'm the first out of the box to say that we are now in the centennial decade of the discovery of quantum physics.
This guy, Planck, that is very interesting. This guy was able to essentially break down time and distance to the smallest measurable amount, meaning his equation was able to break it down to where math and everything seems to fall apart beyond that level. And the Planck distance and Planck time, so to speak, there's a lot of significance to that because it seems to be related to the frame rate at which we perceive physical reality. And that's why they're bringing this guy up. And then in relation to this wave-particle duality, I'll let him
Now
explain
for
that a
thermal
little bit more.
radiation black body spectrum.
Which many people forget or don't associate. That was the birth of quantum physics
Absolutely.
in the year 1900, but we wouldn't really develop it until the 1920s. And I'm the first out of the box to say that we are now in the centennial decade of the discovery of quantum physics.
Right.
Because most of that happened in the 1920s.
The wave-particle duality at that point was when the tension was set, right? Because Planck showed that he could figure out the thermal radiation spectrum if he treated photons as particles. Max Planck, quite a very interesting individual, the history of how he went through life. In his early times, he was considered a little bit on the fringe because he was talking about things like the Planck length and the Planck time and things like that were really short, not anything terrestrial.
Did he use his own name when he was
No. He just said,
my name is Planck, and here's a Planck length.
if you take the Planck constant, which back then he didn't even call that, right? The Planck's constant. If you take the constant that sort of knits quantum physics together, and then the gravitational constant and the speed of light, and you start doing dimensional analysis on them, you get lengths, you get times. And he was like,
All right, let me skip ahead to just this explanation of this double slit experiment because it's mind blowing. Okay, what happened is I forget who did the experiment, but they shot light. Let me just let them explain it.
the particle, and another of
It's
its
an
quantum
attribute.
numbers is its wavelength.
It's an attribute.
Yeah, it's
okay.
an attribute.
So, but then you have the double slit experiment. So you have two slits, and you send waves through it, and they interfere with each other on the other side. So the crests match up in some places, and you get higher intense wave,
Yeah.
and then they cancel out in other places. So it's called interference pattern, of
That's
course.
right.
So on the other
Okay, yeah, you're right. So with this experiment here, what happens is they shot, this was before they realized any of this stuff was taking place. They shot light photons through this double slit. It was a solid, object here with two slits in it. And just like if you were to shoot like a gun through it, kind of poor timing with that reference, but if you just shot something solid through the slit, you would expect to see two lines, one in front of this slit for everything that got by. It'd be riddled with damage here from where it didn't get through. But everywhere it went through a slit, you would expect just two lines to form. But what happened is when they shot individual light photons through these, it ended up creating this wave pattern, which suggested that the individual light photon somehow was spreading out into a wave. So they wanted to measure which slit the lights were going through. So they put a measuring device, essentially a camera, on the slits. And when they started measuring it, watching it, they then got the pattern they expected to get. The photons would go individually through the slit and land on just two lines that, lined up with the slits that were there. So what they realized is that when you observe a photon, it changes from a wave pattern into a single photon. So it seemingly knew that it was being observed. And, and they still can't figure it out. They still can't figure it out. They did a number of other experiments along with this that eventually tricked it in splitting the photons up, one side going through that was being observed, the other side going through in which there was no observation. And when there was no observation, a wave pattern showed up again. And it's just kind of crazy how the individual photon itself, as I was kind of sharing yesterday, seems to have consciousness in a sense. It seems to be aware that at least another set of consciousness is observing it. Maybe it's just too much right now, and I get it. Bruh. Did any of that make sense or no? What the hell? I get it. I get it. I think that it hits home with me with a couple of theoretical beliefs. And yes, when you get into that space, it does, I guess it's got to be some sort of shared theoretical belief, concept, or just interesting enough. But I get it. But I'm I'm curious that heavy with deep meaning but superficial. Oh, okay, I got you. I got you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I agree. I think that you just said it. They're one and the same, and that is the concept that a lot of people use to suggest that everything is light. And that also really aligns with the belief or the thought that this is crazy. It's distracting. Um, it really aligns with the belief and the thought that God, the all source, whatever you want to call it, is a source of light, a literal light source. That statement you just made is what allows me to, as best I can, I shared yesterday, I think that I don't know that humans are capable of perceiving God. I don't know that we're supposed to. But for me, the easiest thing to do is to imagine just the brightest light you could ever imagine. Just an infinite source of light that's imbued with love. People will say that God is love and light, pure love and light. And I agree with that. And it's imbued with love and wisdom. And then as those reflections of God occur, which everything began with the initial reflection, and then each of those reflections created a reflection or a fractal or whatever, that light begins to disperse, and that's all everything is just a variation of light that with different levels of density to it. Meaning we live in a quote unquote physical realm because our light particles, so to speak, are very dense, very compact, giving us the sensation of being in a physical world. That stuff gets a little deep though too. I get it. Not stuff that I had an interest in prior to the last 2 years, but things that I've been diving into a lot. Welcome back, Dante. As a short nap, bro. I agree. I agree. And I think that a lot of times it seems like I'm looking for answers when I'm just curious about things. Again, admitting that I don't think we're supposed to fully, conceive, have that conception of what God is. I'm not looking for it. My whole goal is to be able to gather enough information to effectively communicate these things to people, which I'm obviously still working on. Oh, really? So, hmm. I wonder when. So your description, Irish, you said the description of God is how the Old Testament prophets apparently experienced God, which is as love and light. Um, I wonder where that transition takes place then to referring to God as he or him. It's all right, Dante. I'm sorry, brother. I did check out your page though, and checked out your cars. I assume that was your page. The only Dante that was clearly obsessed with cars. I love it. I don't know that the goal, Irish, is to understand again the wonders. I don't know. I guess that's relative. What it means to understand something, but I think that it's healthy to ponder. I think it's healthy to ponder these things with an open mind. With an open mind. I just felt that everything I had been, educated on, or anything I had looked into was very incomplete. Most things are incomplete. I think all things are incomplete. Hmm. Tony is wild. Get some background music going. I agree, Irish. I think that, the big challenge that we run into is, it's not so much a challenge. I think that it will benefit us whenever we begin to merge the two. I like to look into both and see the similarities in both. And if I come across any contradictions, then I'll just, use that as a discernment, and I guess spend some time pondering that myself. But my beliefs, as they sit, I don't run into many contradictions. My belief, I guess, leaves room for contradictions. A little bit too loud for me. I don't think that they're opposites as much as I don't think they're the same. I think that wisdom contains knowledge. But as I explained in my understanding of God, I think that there's an aspect of love that's also contained within wisdom. You can have knowledge and just try to essentially teach someone to understand something, even just maybe how to do something. But wisdom, I think, again, my own personal opinion, and it's in my channel's name, but for me, there's an aspect of love there in trying to empower people with wisdom. Knowledge is teaching, and wisdom is more empowerment. Hey, I'm gonna answer your question, Dante, but Irish. But my grandpa bought me that car, bro.
like right before he passed. It was a really nice gift from him that I loved and appreciated, but that's how I got that, you know. Now, wisdom contains knowledge, meaning, you know, you've got to, I think, you know, knowledge is just the information that's out there and available. Again, wisdom, I think, has an aspect of love, which in my understanding of it, I guess, or the way I would define that is whenever you're sharing wisdom, you do it with the intention of empowering someone, you know, giving them some information. It could be knowledge that empowers them in some way, where again, I view knowledge as more of just literal data. Yes, I agree with that as well. I mean, wisdom though can come in nuggets, wisdom nuggets, but like I feel like wisdom is more of sharing of some information that leaves room for interpretation. Okay? Again, whereas knowledge would be more of like factual, just information, almost like data. Wisdom is like, you know, you talk to a Buddhist monk and they just share some simple statement with you, and you're like, now you've got to sit there and think on that statement, ponder it, and figure it out, give it your own meaning. Dante, chicken nuggets and ketchup, that's my kids' food. Barbecue, you talking my language. But Irish, I'm curious. What do you what do you think? What do you think about that? I would agree with that, Irish. You know, and I guess it was just a different way of putting it. But whenever I talk about empowerment, that's what I'm talking about. Reveals a person their inner self. You know, and it's not always pretty, because it typically takes layers of, you know, negative self images, if you will, to eventually get down to that beautiful image of self. And then I like that term. I like scholastic wisdom. I like that term. I might steal it from you. Cause yeah, I'm not hating on that. I mean, in fact, I'm fascinated by a lot of it. 350. Let me do that for you right here.
I mean, is this it? Digging that 2010 model, huh? There you go. Yeah, of course. I think bro. I was most recently driving a Toyota Corolla. Of course, I think that this car is really nice. I mean, yeah, I think it's a very humble choice of Mercedes-Benz. It isn't pretty, but it's like the flower that struggles to grow up if harsh rains, muds, and storms. But in the end, there's beauty. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm always focused on the end game, which for me, just like in this Charlie Kirk situation, I feel good about where his soul is, despite what happened. And having that spiritual perspective helps me make sense of the craziness when stuff like that happens. It's really hard. I almost immediately jump into a spiritual perspective because my heart breaks. When my wife told me, I feel bad because I said, "Who's Charlie Kirk?" I couldn't remember. And then whenever I saw him, it was like, you immediately know it's an assassination. And it kills me that people can get so caught up on opinions and beliefs, basically losing sight of what you said there. We go through struggles, we go through challenges and such, but nothing can defeat us, unless you admit defeat yourself. And then, even then, when this life is over, we realize that we can't be defeated. We realize that we're perfectly fine. We realize that we are infinite, eternal, spiritual beings that was literally having a human experience. And from that spiritual perspective, Charlie Kirk's human experience is over, but the spiritual being, essentially whose consciousness was Charlie Kirk, still exists. Very much so. I agree. Whenever I say that I stay kind of like focused on the end game, so to speak, that's just keeping it in mind. I think I shared previously that I'm very conscious and aware of an a life review, so to speak. I believe in life reviews, and I try to have all of my interactions with that in mind. But to your point, it's all about the journey. The journey is so exciting, and you know, that's part of my message, and part of what I want to empower people to do is to really almost kind of start that journey, though. You know, I think that society, our system that we're in, is set up to keep us from going down that journey. The journey is not to just work, struggle to survive, procreate if you can, and then die. It's all about experiencing the journey and having a lot of fun with it. To each their own what that looks like, but it's not getting sucked up in the system, which I was close to doing. Felt like it, at least, especially with the number of kids I had. Casey, you should get this Mercedes. They cost 10 to 15,000. It's not. No, I agree. That's not bad at all. But I don't know what I'm gonna. I honestly want an electric vehicle. Not to say it's got to be a Tesla or anything, but I do want an electric vehicle. Of course, Irish. I love talking with you. I know you've been around the block, so to speak. You've opened yourself up to a lot, and that makes it easy. Makes it easy. I don't have to be so cautious. And I like the way you get me to think about other things. You know, think about things in another way. Again, another reason why I want to kind of do this. I'll never pretend to hold all the answers or wisdom or knowledge or any of that. But Dante, right now, we only have the one vehicle that I shared with you, the Telluride, which fits my family. So it's where we go. I work remotely. I don't have one. And yeah, I can't really afford to get another vehicle right now, but I will soon. But I think whenever I do, I'm going to be looking at electric vehicles. I'm curious, what is an Irish breakfast? My grandma, you know, the last thing she asked for before she passed in the hospital was a fully loaded Irish potato. I thought that was awesome. Okay. Damn, Dante. Dante, I got this one. Now, no. Yeah, you have to add tea because, look, if you just Google what is an Irish breakfast, it's gonna give you some stuff other than tea. But Dante knew what you were referencing. Oh, literal. Interesting. You know, teas are very therapeutic. Can be. I like them. Yes. I just didn't tie that together. But I gotta get I'm gonna get another cup of coffee real quick. I'll be right back. I bet Irish breakfast does not have an Irish accent. So I'm curious. I'm curious. You know, Irish, if you can, or Dante, or both. I'm curious about what your thoughts are about pre-life and afterlife. You know, obviously we have this human existence, and theoretically that could be our only existence. You know, some people believe that, but I obviously don't. I've got my own beliefs in terms of what happens before our human existence or experience, and then what happens following our human experience or journey. What do you think? Dante says, I don't think about it, bruh. I don't blame you. There's not a lot of point unless, you know, it just sparks your interest for some reason. I get it. It's tough to talk about these things because, yeah, it's not on a lot of people's mind. I guess in part I'm trying to bring people's awareness to it because I'm fascinated by it. I have a firm belief that this human existence or experience is only a very small fraction of our total existence. I don't think anybody really knows, Dante. I think we all just assume. You know, I think we live under this veil of amnesia intentionally. We intentionally forget. Kind of to the point Irish made earlier, what's the point of going through an experience if you remember everything? I think that our experience, our journey is set up so that we have certain memories unlock along the way. I agree. Irish says that it thinks it's important, but I'd say it isn't about the beginning of your journey, place of origin, nor is it about the destination. It's not. Therefore, I wouldn't force anyone to think about it. I feel that having, again, just a personal feeling on it. I feel that having a conception of these things enhances the journey. For me, personally. It helps give it some meaning and some understanding. I haven't ever had yogi tea. Let's check it out. It's a brand. I don't think so. Let me go see. I want to go see real quick what we have in here because we got quite a bit of tea. Look at that, bro. I got some yogi tea. Yeah, I think that this is even the one that my wife makes me, because I love the honey. P72. Whoa, that's rad. That looks like the Ford concept. Dude, that's freaking wild. If you have the answers, what shall you do with your life? If you have the questions, what resolve will you have by knowing the answers? If you're on the right path, how shall you walk with it? Listen, Irish, you're starting to sound a lot like a Buddha. I know it is. Clearly. I'm fascinated with how you've been able to blend, Protestant, Buddhism, Catholicism. I think you'd even mentioned another one in there. It's wild. But it's also why I like to get your take on it. Hey Dante, this car is absolutely wild. This is the opposite. This looks like the kind of car that I drove whenever I met my wife. What's up? One second, guys. I'll be right back. Dante, do I like it? I don't dislike it, but it reminds me too much of a Honda Fit. You know about the Honda Fits, right? I'm too big to drive a car like this. Although I did at a point have to drive a Honda Fit, but that was actually hilarious. When someone my size drives a Honda Fit, your head is looking out of this window while you're driving. Or if somebody's driving past you, they're seeing you out of this window. It's kind of funny. That white one does look clean. You have the white one? It looks real good with those white rims. No, I like to do my tea in the evenings. So I'm curious, what are you guys' thoughts on channeling? You know, people who channel information, entities. I don't know how you would describe it. Do you think that it's legit? Do you think it's made up? Or do you just not have a thought about it? You ever considered it? Oh, dude, Joe Rogan sit down with Carrot Top. It's funny. All good, Dante. I asked just out of curiosity because I know that it's more fringe, although it's becoming more and more common, not mainstream, but definitely common. I ask because I find it's another thing that I'm just fascinated by. It's, yeah. I find it fascinating, and totally believe that people have the ability to make these kind of, I view them as energetic connections to kind of channel messages in from the spirit realm. And that's kind of what I'm referring to. People who, so let's see. So I've got a couple in here, like Sam the Illusionist, he's a channel. Alunia, she's a channeler. Daniel is. Trying to decide who might be a good one to show. Holy smokes, I've got a lot of subscriptions. So, for instance, let's go to Alunia here. Alunia, she channels individuals. Now, when they channel, let me get this pulled up.
And what I would like to share that is very important is that carry more power now than they ever have before. Hello, my name is Alunia. I am an Akashic channeler and a psycho-spiritual healer and teacher, and I would like to share with you the energies that are coming through for this month of September on a human level, and also the energies that are coming through on a more cosmic or galactic level, and how using these energies can support your evolution, and what can come through for you based on these energies, and how...
Dante, you asked, what do I feel about people who hate on me? Being human, it hurts, but I've got nothing for love but people.
How you can put certain things into practice that will support your evolution during this month that we have ahead of us. So I have my beloved guides that have been with me for a very long time. They are 3 priestess sisters that I have worked with for a majority of my life.
We're getting a little
They
out
are
there.
Pleiadian priestesses.
Pleiadian.
And they are going to share some of the energies that are coming through on a human and galactic level. And then there are also, I'm hearing, there are some beings who come from the Syrian Council that would also like to share about the galactic incoming energies. So
what she does is she gets into a semi-trance. Mm, interesting. What is the, I guess, what is the thought behind it? Is it viewed as like evil or demonic or what? Mm, that's interesting. I wonder why. Like just because it's, I don't know, just because you're told, or is there a belief behind it? You're experienced, so you don't dabble. I don't understand that though. I guess I would ask, do you see any separation between anything and God? Are you of the belief that all things are of God, or some things are separate from God? Did she mention spiritual warfare? She may have, and I'm not a big fan of that talk, either. Oh, you have experienced. Oh my mic. You've experienced it. Interesting. That's very interesting. Let's go. Let's ask Gemini. Unpacking it. Spiritual warfare is the ongoing conflict between good and evil, a reality that every believer is called to engage in. It's not a physical battle with worldly weapons, but a spiritual struggle against the forces of darkness that seek to separate humanity from the love of God, which is impossible. This warfare is an integral part of the Christian life, a journey of choosing Christ over sin and darkness. Oh, wow. Holy shit. Nature of conflict. Foundation of the Catholic understanding of spiritual warfare lies in the recognition that with the fall of Adam and Eve, humanity became susceptible to sin and the influence of evil. This is not a battle of equals. God is infinitely more powerful than any evil. I struggle with that. Not God being all powerful. It's just I don't see a separation. Like demons in a mirror walking in my hallway of an apartment. So no, I don't dabble in such things. I To each their own. If they're what I guess what I find fascinating is categorizing all of it as demonic, as if nothing good could come from it. Because I feel that a lot of the stories, that were told in the Bible or written in the Bible, a lot of the messages that were delivered in the Bible were delivered through channeling. Like they didn't record it, obviously, the way that we're able to now record it and see it happening. But I believe that's how the information is shared. Uh, I don't doubt that they are real. No doubt. I mean, there are, I wouldn't categorize something as demonic, but there are negative entities who, maybe don't have your best interest in mind. That would be categorized as, service to self. I see two paths. You're either on a path of service to others or a path of service to self. And if you're on the path of service to others, then anything that's reflective of service to self is going to be negative. Whereas if you're on a path of service to self, anything that's, service to others is going to be viewed as negative. That's why I think a positive and negative experience is relative to the individual. So whenever I speak in terms of positive and negative, that's all I'm talking about is a way to essentially interpret vibrations. Does the vibration of service to self resonate with you, or does the vibration of service to others resonate with you? I need to grab mine too. That's interesting. The word demon refers to fallen angels that attack humanity and they interact with matter. Whew. Now, do you relate fallen angels with Nephilim by chance? What are your thoughts on the Nephilim? And I want to ask this again: Do you see a demon, quote unquote, as separate from God, or do you see it as a part, as an aspect of God? And I may be even taking that too far. Do you see yourself as an aspect of God? Do you see everybody else as an aspect of God? Or do you see a separation? Is a demon separate from God? And that would then pose the question of, well, where'd they fall from? Were they a part of God and then they separated? Like, how does that work? And I would go as far to say, Irish, that even seeing what would be considered, in your experience, a demon in a mirror, from my perspective, from a neutral perspective, I see it as you having a gift or an ability that not everyone is aware of themselves. Yo, come on.
One time I had a case where the demon who was possessing, he had actually seen Our Lady's interior life at the first instance of his creation. So if you actually look at what happens when angels are created, they call it the three instances. The first instance is that they're created, the whole hierarchy of angels, literally billions upon billions of angels are instantaneously created in a hierarchy. In that first instance, though, God also created them into a perfect act of knowing. That meant that they knew who God was, what their relationship with him was, what their assigned task was for why he created them. That meant who and what they were, their nature. It also meant they understood their relationship to all the other angels. St. Thomas says that they even saw the temptation, or what would happen if Lucifer fell, who they would be under if they fell, but also the punishment if they fell, but then also the reward if they were to, what the reward would be if they were faithful. They saw the totality of that all instantly at once. And then at that moment, St. Thomas says that because they saw that intellectually, there was a concomitant delight in the will in seeing how beautiful that was, that of God's plan. And then they made their choice, which in the second instance. And then the difference between us and angels is that we're pretty stupid, right? We're dumb. I mean, all you got to do is turn on the television and you get a pretty quick indicator of that, right? In fact,
I'm sorry, I think that there's a lot more differences. And that's
it seems like the number of people carrying around weapons-grade stupidity keeps increasing all the time, right? It's like, wow. That means that as human beings, whenever we make a choice, the definition of choice is or a free choice, is an attribute of the will in which the will is able to make a determination between goods. Okay. Now that determination means that when we make a choice, we kind of fix our will in something. And as time goes on, because we're not that bright, that fixedness that we have in relationship to the evil or the good is, it takes time to build up to where we become more and more fixed in it, right? It doesn't mean we can't commit a mortal sin and therefore determine our eternal destiny, because if we die in the state of mortal sin or in the state of grace, God fixes our wills either in evil or in the good, depending on whether we're in the state of grace or not, okay? So that's it. But with the angels, because they had, whether we're in the state of grace, it doesn't mean we can't commit a mortal sin and therefore determine our eternal destiny, because if we die in the state of mortal sin or in the state of grace, God fixes our wills either in evil or in the good, depending on whether we're in the state of grace or not, okay? So that's it. But with the angels, because they had perfect comprehension of exactly what they were doing, there was no ignorance, there was no weakness, like us who, we see the chocolate and we're like, oh, gotta have the chocolate, right? They're not like that. They had full comprehension of it. That meant that their choice was much freer than ours is. And that means when they made their choice, they fixed their will permanently in that thing, whether it was good or bad. In fact, one time I was dragging this demon through the fact that he was created to have I said, so you were created to have the beatific vision, yeah, and you were created to do this magnificent task, yeah, and you were created to have this wonderful relationship with everybody in heaven, yeah, and I go through all these different things, and then you knew that if you chose against that you'd end up in hell, yeah, you'd never see God, yes, and that you would suffer for all eternity, yes, and you'd do it again, yes. They literally are fixed in that, okay? This is why you hear from time to time today, there has been the resurrection of a heresy that originally came from Origen, but it's called wait a minute, I gotta remember this word. Apokatastasis. It was a heresy that was formally condemned by the Council of Constantinople, which says that in the end, the people in hell will get a second chance or possibly get back into heaven. The church has formally condemned that proposition. Once you're in hell, it's eternal. Right? In fact, one of the things you actually see with demons, in sessions, you can actually make their suffering increase by talking about this is never going to end. The suffering you're undergoing is never going to end. And they recognize that. Right? And it causes, just recognizing that it's eternal, it's never going to change, causes them more pain. So then they made their choice, and every single angel will tell you that their fundamental failure was sacrifice. And the reason that it was their fundamental failure is because in their choice, St. Thomas says that they were
Okay, cool. I can do that. R.I.P. Charlie, Dante. For real, man. I need... Let's get this going. No, bro, that's way too much. Bro, this is so loud for me. Chill out. Alright, cool. Jeez Louise. Oh, hell yeah. Oh yeah, I dig this kind of stuff. Can you hear it okay? Yeah. Okay. The Theology of the Fallen Angels. Let's check it out. Father Chad Ripperger. Alright. Let's see. Not too worried about him. Okay. The fall from grace, the nature of psychology of demons. Okay. According to Father, I'm not going to say his last name because it trips me up. Angels were created by God with a profound intellect and free will. At the moment of their creation, they were given a choice to love and serve God or to rebel against Him. Those who choose rebellion, led by Lucifer, were irrevocably cast out of heaven, becoming what we know as demons. Now, God, this chat is annoying. I don't know why it disappears. Now, I'm curious. Genuinely, what were these initial angels made from? I want to know your take. I'm going to keep reading, but I'm curious. What were they made from? I know that God created, but what from? That's a reasonable question. A key aspect of the Father's explanation is the instantaneous and permanent nature of this choice. Unlike humans who can repent and change their minds over time, angels, due to their superior intellect and immediate grasp of the consequences, hang on. Change their minds over time. Angels. Okay. And I just didn't like that explanation of being just dumb. From God's love and power. Okay. I agree. Hey Dante, I will, but I need to zone in right now in this conversation, to be honest. I agree. I also, though, within my beliefs, believe we have a light body ourselves. We have a physical body, we have a light body. Mind, body, spirit complex. Okay? Mind being our filter and our ego. So, and that goes back to what I mentioned earlier about, I think that as the different realms or dimensions are there, and we would be in the third dimension, I believe that the things become more dense, heavier, but we're still light. So I do believe we have a light body, but going back to just my original question around that, because earlier, if I'm mistaken, I felt like you said that like demons, aka fallen angels, are then separate from God. But if they're made from the love and light of God, in that sense, and the way I think about this, there is no way to separate it. See, that last point you just made, it's very possible that our soul is light. Thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement to that, because I believe that's really how it's represented within our body. But our soul has consciousness and is immortal. That's not a but. It should be an and. There's no but to that. I don't see why a but is there. But I don't see why we've got a but in the middle of this. I feel like it should just be, and our soul has a consciousness and is immortal. What the hell does separate in nature mean? Like, again, because in my beliefs or from my view, we are nature. That's something else you can't separate from once you're a part of nature. And I see no separation from nature and God. What is a phase of thought? You can't have thought without consciousness, and you can't have consciousness without being made of God. Therefore, there's no separation from that perspective. I gotta be honest, Father Chad triggered me a little bit. I mean, because from my perspective, even if, which is a difference between angels and us. and only the aspect of us that are angels. Okay? To reference the fact that the only difference between us is the fact that humans are dumb is a very purposeful way of delivering that message. It belittles it. When we talk about the illusion of separation as a part of the matrix, being the matrix of illusion, this is a part of that separation. A very direct reference to that separation. When, from my perspective, we're just a reflection of an angel, so to speak. Meaning, when our physical body dies, or gives out, dies, or whatever, and our consciousness expands, we expand back into our fullest self. This is just a reflection of our higher self, if you will. Okay, I don't like to use the term higher myself because they're not above us. It's a part of us. We're a part of it. It's a part of us. And that's the heavenly realm that we return to. When we no longer have this physical body, we're then left with our consciousness and our light body, which could never be destroyed. You can never destroy light. You can never destroy energy. You can only transfer it into something else. And that's what happens. Not with our bodies though. I mean, dust to dust, whatever. You can burn the body when it's done because we're left with our consciousness. At least in my opinion. That was the video we were watching, Dante. So, just, he also well, I mean, in all fairness, that wasn't mentioned in reference here. I kind of said that in my rant, and I apologize, just kind of going through that. It certainly wasn't an attack. But what I was pointing out is that Father Chad used the specific, my issue was just saying that we're dumb. It suppresses us. We shouldn't be taught that we're dumb, and that's why we can't. That's a part of the narrative of like why we would struggle to be able to experience unconditional love. It's like, well, we're too dumb for that. Angels could do it, of course. God could do it. But again, I know that's not a Catholic saying. That's more my conditioning of the environment I grew up in. But I don't know. I just struggle. My challenge with religion is just I feel in the cases that I'm aware of, which is a very small amount, I just feel it's very limiting just by restricting things. Now you've been around the block. You've looked at many things, so I appreciate your opinion, and it means a lot that you've settled on Catholicism, but there's just certain things I can't help but struggle with that just don't align with my current beliefs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess you're available to have that opinion, but as someone who tries to deliver a message, you use words like that for a reason, and I would never. Because my messages, despite how they may come across, are always based on love, not fear. That's a fear-based tactic. In a sense, it's a fear-based tactic. It's either love or fear. And you could say it's tough love, I guess, to get around it, but not in my opinion. It's a very specific tactic, and I don't like it. I wouldn't call someone dumb in any reference. Ignorant at best. I guess at worst, I should say. They'd be ignorant at worst, just unaware of a situation, but not dumb. Because in all fairness, again, any message you're delivering under that umbrella would be just trying to provoke awareness. It's all about how you go about trying to provoke that awareness. No judgment. This is an observation. I love Father Chad, and I appreciate you for bringing it up. It provokes a nice conversation, in my opinion. That's all this is. It's just an observation and an opinion. No judgment, bro. I literally, it's one of my things. I do not negatively judge. I am Mr. Neutral Path and always thinking positive. My heart is very open. So absolutely no judgment on anything here. This is just conversation to me, observation, opinions, and I respect them all. So I actually apologize for coming across as that, because I'm passionate about this stuff, but only from like positive perspectives, in a sense that, like I've shared many times, I just want to empower people. I'm not trying to discredit him either. The thing I said about it is it was an intentional way of getting a message across that I felt suppresses versus empowers. I'm all about empowerment. When I hear a message that sounds fear-based or suppressive in nature, it triggers me. It's how I'm wired. And it's just an observation, and I'm not discrediting in any way, shape, or form, nor judging. Yes. Iris, you're getting a sense of how difficult it is for my wife to be married to me. So I apologize for that. You're not the first person to tell me that. What's up? What's up, Dante? Yeah. Amen, brother. I do. For sure. You too, brother. I appreciate that message, Dante. Irish, if you're still there, I can't see these things on here. I just want to say thank you, and I hope you return. But I do apologize if I've offended you. I appreciate that support, Dante. I know you said you're tired earlier. I hope you get some rest. You don't like this one? I mean, I like it, but I can definitely play another one. But I got to get to work. To be honest with you guys, like I've really loved this conversation. Appreciate the entertainment, Dante. I wrote that down. I'm gonna play some. But I do need to get to work, so I'm gonna have to end the stream. I'll be back tomorrow. Again, I hope you guys show up, or at least next time you do, or next time I'm on, I hope I get to catch you. I think I'm gonna try to get some streams in the afternoon for me, which would be, in about probably 5-6 hours from now. I don't know. It sounds like y'all Dante will probably be sleeping, but if you happen to catch me then, pop in. I'd love to have your conversation there as well. But I'll also be back in the morning. So either way. All right, dude. Irish, peace out. Dante, peace out. Y'all have a blessed day, rest of your days. And I'll chat with y'all later.